Merci, Monsieur le...
Thank you, President. President, I have the honour and privilege to introduce a pre-recorded statement by the President of the Republic of Burundi, His Excellency, Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye. Thank you.
Excellency, Monsieur
Excellency, Your Excellency, Mr. Volkan Bozkır, President of the 75th Session of the United Nations General Assembly, Heads of State and Government, Your Royal Highnesses, Antonio Guterres, United Nations Secretary General, colleagues, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. As I open my statement, I wish first and foremost to pay tribute to the God Almighty, who has given us the opportunity today to discuss subjects that we hold very dearly on behalf of humanity. We would have certainly wished that this debate, which coincides with the 75th anniversary of the founding of our organisation, be held in the General Assembly Hall, as is customary. But, alas, the COVID-19 pandemic has struck all nations of the world, means that we must meet virtually. We would express the hope that the next sessions will be held in very good circumstances once we have overcome this health crisis that has spared nobody. Allow me next to express my warmest congratulations to His Excellency Mr. Volkan Bozkır from Turkey on his outstanding election to preside over the 75th regular session of the United Nations General Assembly. His outstanding qualities and talents are certainly a gauge of the success of our work at this session. Indeed, the theme that was chosen for this General Assembly was well thought out. The future we want, the United Nations we need, reaffirming our collective commitment to multilateralism, confronting COVID-19 through effective multilateral action. Naturally, you can count on the full cooperation of Burundi in the accomplishment of your noble and inspiring mission. At the same time, I'd also like to pay a well-deserved tribute to your predecessor, Ambassador Tijani Mohamed Bande, not only for his personal and professional qualities, which are certainly admirable, but also for the exceptional way and the exceptional professionalism with which he presided over the 74th session that we have just concluded, and successfully so, in a particularly difficult context marked by the COVID-19 crisis. I wish to take this opportunity to, on behalf of the people of Burundi, present my most sincere condolences and express my solidarity to the nations who have lost their citizens following the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic is indiscriminate in how it strikes, and it has put into stark relief the importance of multilateralism, of solidarity, and of international cooperation in how we manage crises and global contradictions. I also wish to welcome the remarkable job done by the Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, as well as his brave action that is underway, which seeks to reform our shared organisation, to make it more efficient, more credible, and to make it an organisation that is in touch with the citizens of the world without discrimination. Burundi wishes to reiterate its full support and full cooperation in this field. President, now, in terms of our domestic policy, Burundi has made substantial progress in its peace building and consolidation of democracy, despite the challenges that my country is still facing. Indeed, Burundi organised general elections between May and August 2020. All of these elections were fair, free, democratic, transparent, peaceful, and entirely financed by resources garnered from Burundian taxpayers. The fact that this entire electoral process was completely funded by national resources is testament to the will of the Burundian people to take ownership once and for all of our political system, as well as our administration and our economy, without external interference. Thus, now that all the foundations have been laid for a strong democracy, all that remains to be done is to work for development that is the backbone of our fight against poverty. We are fully aware that this fight requires wisdom, bravery, courage, perseverance, and a heightened sense of patriotism and work ethic. Together, united, we will achieve this. Now, in terms of security, I am pleased to inform you that the situation in Burundi is stable, calm, and entirely under control across the whole territory. Now, on the humanitarian front, we welcome the mass and voluntary return of Burundian refugees who had fled the country following the sorry episodes which have left a sad mark on Burundi's history. In addition to the several thousands of Burundians who are returning themselves without assistance from the HCR, since the 1st of August 2017, from the 1st of August 2017 until the 31st of August 2020, 92,285 refugees were voluntarily repatriated to Burundi. They came from Tanzania, but also Kenya, Rwanda, the DRC, and from Uganda. This mass voluntary return movement is a clear demonstration of the return of peace, calm, trust, and stability in our country. On the diplomatic front, our ambition is to build friendly relations and cooperation based on the principle of mutual respect and the sovereign equality of states. The trend among certain states who use means that are both underhand and illegal to control geopolitics in countries of the South and are using the international community to oppress other countries by imposing unilateral coercive measures in violation of the principles of the UN Charter must cease. Burundi would advocate for a type of multilateralism where all states, all countries, whatever their size and whatever their level of development, have a role to play to address the manifold challenges that humanity faces. Here, Burundi remains open to countries and to international organisations who wish to establish mutually beneficial cooperation ties that are respectful. Thus, we strongly reject the unjustified political and diplomatic aggression against Burundi and its people by foreign governments. Some of them have even attempted to change the regime in 2015 through anti-constitutional means. Strong-arm diplomacy must give way to respectful and mutually beneficial cooperation. Even if the nature of relations between Africa and countries with a colonial past needs to be rethought, so that we can transform a painful history of colonialization into opportunities through mutually beneficial cooperation, we cannot forget that the conquests to enslave Africa and the strong resistance shown by the people of Africa to defend themselves against invasion or to shake off the colonial yoke have cost millions of lives in Africa and has left wounds that it is difficult to heal. Now, in terms of the inclusion of Burundi on the Security Council's agenda, we have never tired of saying Burundi is included on the Security Council agenda completely arbitrarily for political reasons and egotistical interests of some powers. This has nothing to do with the well-being of the Burundian people, who are in no way a threat to international peace and security. On the contrary, This inclusion on the agenda is a factor that destabilizes our country rather than fostering peace and tranquility. We therefore reiterate our legitimate appeal for the immediate removal of Burundi from the Security Council's agenda and to use this so precious time to address socio-economic development and to support national efforts in the implementation of Burundi's National Development Plan for the period of 2018 to 2027 and the Sustainable Development Goals from the 2030 agenda. Now, as regards the implementation of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, in addition to integrating and aligning the SDGs with our National Development Plan for 2018-2027, the government of Burundi has highlighted a few priorities that require particular attention in the near future. These priorities are the fight against poverty, promotion of good governance, public health, agriculture and herding, the protection of the environment, development of human capital, the fight against unemployment, youth unemployment, and ensuring that healthcare is free for all retired people. In the field of good governance, the government is applying a policy of zero tolerance as regards corruption, social injustice, the misappropriation or siphoning of state goods, as well as the best possible management of civil servants. Burundi, much like other countries who have committed to sustainable development, we have adopted many provisions to regularly follow up on the implementation of the SDGs and our National Development Plan. In order to share the journey that we have taken so far in the implementation of the SDGs, successes, current and emerging challenges and lessons learnt, Burundi entered voluntarily into the voluntary national reviews for 2020. We remain convinced that for the SDGs that we all adopted in 2015 to become a reality, we vitally need more commitment, more ambition, more action, and above all, more resources. President, now looking at the global issues, this session is an excellent opportunity for member states to reflect on how our shared organisation must address these new emerging challenges. The world that we live in today needs now, more than ever, a consensus-based approach to tackle major challenges such as climate change, terrorism, peaceful solution of conflicts, Security Council reform, the question of migration, and the management of health crises. Looking at the climate, we must recall that this planet, that is our home and will be the home of future generations, is facing a climate crisis which is worsening day in, day out, accompanied by a spike in climate scepticism. The climate crisis threatens decades of progress and is compromising all projects that have been undertaken to build inclusive and sustainable development. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking. Indeed, it is in order to contribute to the regeneration of nature and to improve our environment and our societies and our economies in our country that the government of Burundi launched in November 2017 the Uwe Burundi Urambaye project. This project aims to substantially reduce the effects of deforestation. In terms of the fight against terrorism, while we strongly condemn terrorism in all its forms, my country Burundi believes that terrorism shall never be linked and should never be linked to one religion, one nationality, one civilization, or one given ethnic origin. This is a threat that knows no borders, a threat that requires a global solution. By attacking without prevarication the root causes of this century's evil, Aware as we are of the breadth of terrorism today, my country Burundi will continue to make its substantial contribution to the fight against terrorism in Somalia, where my country has deployed more than 5,000 troops, and also our contribution to United Nations peacekeeping missions, such as in Central African Republic, where Burundi has a military battalion which is doing an excellent job. Now, in terms of regional integration processes, we welcome the initiative to create the African Continental Free Trade Area, a laudable initiative which will allow free circulation of goods and persons around the continent. There is no doubt that the African Continental Free Trade Area is a true opportunity to boost growth, to reduce poverty, and to broaden economic inclusion in Africa. In terms of Security Council reform, a topic that has been subject to negotiations for more than a quarter of a century now, my country Burundi remains committed to the common African position as contained in the Esselwini Consensus and in the CERT Declaration. It seeks to correct a notorious injustice against Africa, the only continent that is not represented amongst permanent members of the Security Council, and it is underrepresented amongst non-permanent members. In terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, this has provoked an unprecedented global crisis, a crisis that has cost literally hundreds of thousands of lives and has affected millions of people. It risks eroding before our very eyes all the progress that we've already made to implement the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030 and to achieve the 2063 agenda in Africa. The pandemic has brought out the fragilities of today's world and has shed light on the blatant deficits in global and national development efforts, such as high levels of poverty and inequality, runaway climate change, and ongoing discrimination towards older persons, poor communities, women, girls. All of these erode social cohesion. All of these challenges can only be addressed through international solidarity, cooperation, and the promotion of a multilateralism that is based on the rule of international law. President, in conclusion, my country, Burundi, has never stopped believing in international solidarity, in multilateralism, and in a rejection of strong-arm diplomacy. Through this noble belief, my country, Burundi, reaffirms its commitment to play its role, to play its full role in the construction of a global order based on the rule of law, a peaceful, equitable and prosperous world that respects the principles of the United Nations Charter. I thank you for your kind attention. May God bless you all. Thank you.